Hey, I'm Evan Williams, and this is my Romance Rewind.
We'll start with Degrassi. Had you grown up watching Degrassi? Was it sort of a part of your sort of zeitgeist when you joined the show?
Growing up in Canada, everybody who's in the industry has traveled through Degrassi. It's like a rite of passage that Spencer McPherson on our show, he was on Degrassi as well. Pretty much everybody was on Degrassi. And of course I watched it, and it was one of my first kind of big roles out of theater school, so I was stoked.
Yeah, when you joined as Kelly, did they tell you were going to be a love interest for Emma? Was it sort of like up in the air?
I think they hinted at it, and they also hinted that he was maybe musical, and so I brought my guitar into the audition and I played him a song, and I think maybe that was part of why I got it.
What was it like working with Miriam? I mean, she's like a Degrassi legend.
Dude, she was a Degrassi royalty. She was great. Like, so friendly and inviting, and especially because I think the show had been on for 5 seasons already when I joined, so everybody was like already meshed, and they invited me in, and it was a really good primer into how the industry works too. Degrassi was like a well-oiled machine, and they pumped out those episodes, so I just got to jump right in, and I was part of the family.
Did you were you starting to get recognized after being on the show? Like, how did that work?
A little bit. In fact, I was still waiting tables at that time, and they had a little TV in the corner, and actually one time during a shift, Degrassi came on, and I was like, "Would you like fries with that?" And they were like, "Isn't that you?" And I had a strange moment of cognitive dissonance. But yeah, and they're like, "Don't you have like a private jet or something?" And I was like, "That's not how it works."
And the hair was so like mid-aughts, like
yeah.
I mean the long hair.
Yeah. They didn't consult me about the hair choice, but probably at that time I would have been like, "Yeah, sounds great."
You were on there for like seasons 8 and 9.
Oh yeah, there you go. Okay.
Yeah.
8 and 9.
And you're kicked out. You take the blame for Emma a little bit by when you're trying to dispose of her pot brownies. Such a Degrassi episode.
I love Degrassi because every single thing in the world happens to this small group of kids, and it's like they're just cursed. That's actually the overarching theme of Degrassi is you're cursed.
Especially Emma. Like that girl's been. As I'm doing my rewatch right now, that girl's been through a lot.
Totally. And even the theme song is like, whatever it takes, we know you can make it through. But the subtle hint is that like there's going to be stuff coming at you.
Right. Moving on to Luke and Awkward. That's where I first, saw you like on screen. That was also a well-oiled machine coming in, right around like when the show had already been sort of.
Yeah.
It blew up. What was that like sort of entering in the midst of the Awkward fandom?
It was cool. I got to do my screen test with Ashley, who was the star of that show, and I had just the night before accidentally dove into the bottom of a swimming pool and like smoked my face. I like dived out of a hot tub into a swimming pool and like did a dive, and I didn't know that the bottom of the pool changed. I don't know, this is not going to make me look very cool, but yeah, I definitely smashed my face, and I had my friend, I had like 2 black eyes, and my friend put on makeup, and I walked into the audition and I looked terrible, and the casting people were like, "Are you okay?" And I was like, "I'm fine, coach, put me in." And I think the fact that I was all banged up was endearing to Ashley because she liked me and we had good chemistry, and that's probably why I got the role. And as soon as I came in, once again, like they were like a family, and they just kind of behind the scenes they really brought me in. I went to barbecues with them, and the whole cast, they're all lovely. And on screen, I was the other guy. I was the threat. Mm-hmm. So it was fun to play that.
How was it being like, obviously Team Maddie was such a huge deal back then. I mean,
yeah.
It was all over Twitter. I mean, were there like fan reactions you were like, this is kind of intense?
Oh, for sure, yeah. And like I got my first taste of fans being like not realizing that I'm a human being.
Yeah.
So they were like, "I hope Luke dies in a train wreck," and they would like tag me in it, and I'm like, "Okay, noted. Cool."
I loved, obviously, like grew up watching like Jenna and Maddie, but like Jenna and Luke were such a very cool, mature relationship.
Yeah.
What was that like, sort of doing something different than what Jenna had ever sort of experienced before?
It was great. It was fun to like feel like I was bringing some common sense because their relationship was so like this, all over the place, and of course, real life happens, and it wasn't so simple after all. But it was fun to be the mature one for a change, and I was also playing closer to my age at that time, so that was fun. I've always played younger than my age pretty consistently throughout my career, but it's funny, like now I'm approaching my age. It's funny how that works.
When are we gonna get Nikki DeLoach and Bo on the way home?
I don't know. I would love for them to be on the way home. Nikki is, she's really talented too. Like I loved her work on Awkward. I thought she was hilarious. And every time I see her on Hallmark, I think she's great. So I'd be down. And Bo is another Canadian. Bring them all.
We gotta make this happen.
Yeah,
we're gonna manifest this in this video.
We're gonna rope them in.
They gotta go in the pond too.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Everyone goes in the pond. You too. Let's go.
And it's funny how you mentioned how you had like dove into the pool and we're all messed up. It's kind of like ironic considering how Jenna starts the show.
Yes.
Like she's all banged up from falling
Yeah.
in her bathroom. It's kind of like meant to be, I guess.
Yeah.
We got to talk about Versailles, obviously.
Right on.
That was a radically different role than anything you've done, like teen dramas.
Yeah.
Was that really exciting for you as an actor?
Oh, it was so exciting. That role was such a dream. Also because we got to shoot it in Paris. So I got to live in Paris for 3 years, which was like insane. Also, the character I used, I had just finished theater school not too long before that, and I played a role in theater school from a Shakespeare play for Measure for Measure. It's called Measure for Measure, and the character was called Lucio. And so I used sort of the Shakespeare character as the base that I then built the character of the Chevalier for Versailles. And so it was really fun to sort of like grow that. And I had planted those seeds in theater school, and to be given the opportunity to like stretch that way. It was a very broad character, and the words were so beautiful, fascinating, and funny. Like getting to just lean into this character was so fun, and I think I really opened up parts of myself that I kind of hadn't known were lying dormant. I think that I got to push past all the ways that I was afraid to be seen, and that was very empowering. I thought that they trusted me a lot, especially because I was doing an accent, I was playing a different sexuality, I was playing a period, and I was doing it in a European production. So there were so many different things that I couldn't keep track of all the plays that were spinning. So the only thing I could do was just dive in. And I got such great feedback from the production, and they were so supportive, and they said, just keep, like whatever you're doing, just keep going, keep pushing it. So I did, and I loved my scene partner, Alex Vlahos. We had such a good time together and really trusted each other, and I think it showed on the screen too.
Yeah.
We had a blast.
You had such a great chemistry, and it seemed so effortless. Was that just pretty instant for you guys?
Yeah, well, I think neither of us had played a same-sex relationship before, so we knew that we had to just lean into it, and we made a pact on the first day, and that we were both going to take care of each other, and that we were going to lean in and not pull our punches and go all the way, and we did. And I think the very first scene that we did, we had a kissing scene, like the very first scene that we shot. And I think growing up in Canada, I was like a little bit more of a macho society, and I was kind of you wanted to be a dude, you wanted to be a man, and so doing something like that where I knew was going to be on international television was sort of like tough for my ego for a moment, even though I knew as an actor this is what I want to do, but like my system didn't know. And in that first take, I cried. Like I literally, like my body was just sort of like kind of basically my ego was dying. It was sort of like, okay dude, you're on your own. And afterwards, the director came to me and he was like, "It's very good. I like it, but maybe now without the tears, maybe we don't need it." So yeah.
And that fandom, between was huge. And I still see edits on TikTok now.
They're still going.
They love them.
Yeah.
And that's a testament to the chemistry, the writing, the show. Like that's rare.
Yeah, I love the way the show treated the relationship, because especially at that time, the show came out, 2008? I don't remember, it was a while ago. But at that time, a lot of the same-sex relationships on television were cautionary tales. And it was something that somebody did was a vice, or they got in trouble for it, or it was a character flaw. Whereas we didn't treat the relationship as something that was negative. It was a love story that happened to be between two men, and it was both historically accurate and also, I think, it was beautifully crafted and wasn't sort of one note. There was all sorts of trouble and chaos within it, but I felt like we were doing something that really mattered, and I think a lot of people felt represented by it, and I feel honored to have been trusted to play a role like that, and I'm glad that people enjoyed it.
Elliot and the Way Home. I mean, playing closer to your age.
Close to my age.
There's, Hallmark heartthrob. Like, how does it feel?
I think that what I love about The Way Home is that it sort of subverts the typical Hallmark mold and manages to keep what's beautiful about Hallmark, but also like really subvert a lot of expectations. And as a Hallmark leading man in this way, I think that I'm really enjoying subverting a lot of those expectations. Like I'm not shirtless with puppies and like wearing flannel. Not to say that there's anything wrong with that. Bring the flannel, bring the puppies. In fact, who knows what's happening in the future, let's say. But I love being able to play Elliot Augustine as somebody who is happy to not be the square-jawed alpha. And I'm like trying to, in my performance and my portrayal, trying to honor the ways that many men exist. Like there's a whole spectrum of masculinity and the ways that we can show up. And I'm trying to bring the love and the interior bits of Elliot out. And if people are here for it, that's fantastic. And if they're not, that's also not my problem.
Yeah, I wanted to follow up with that. Why do you think people are drawn to Elliot?
I think Elliot represents another way of being masculine. I think that he brings the smarts, he brings the heart, and he's funny. Like I love playing a character who falls down the stairs and has to figure out how to get back up again. I love playing a character who has challenges and has things chasing him. And so I love the complexity, and I think audiences relate to that in a way because it's not always so easy.
Yeah. With Kat and Elliot, how is it, obviously with like Degrassi and Awkward, you come in as a love interest, like there's already an established relationship. How has it felt to sort of build on that, the slow burn element of it all? That must have been really fun to sort of start with and chronicle. For
sure. Well, it's also really interesting because it's a time travel show, and so we see Elliot as a 16-year-old doing all of this pining and really loving, and so it's fun to play the mind game, the imagination game of what's happened in the 20 years since, and how does that affect, like if you're a tree that's growing, how does it affect the way the tree itself has grown? Yeah. And so we'll see if their love story really has what it takes to stand the test of time, and I'm a fan.
And then I just want to touch on briefly Blonde.
Yeah.
Obviously so different than anything you'd ever done before.
Yeah.
There's a little bit of romance in there.
Yeah.
How was that, sort of flexing different muscles?
Blonde was a trip. It was such a high quality production. I was so honored to even be a part of it. There were so many Oscar winners that were in the crew of that, and it was like a huge ship that was moving that I was sort of like one of those little guppies that was like swimming along the side. Working with Anna de Armas was, I don't know, it was a revelation. Like there were some times when I would just catch myself watching her, and I would like have to remind myself that I was in a scene with her. I don't know, every project you get as an actor utilizes a different part of yourself, and in a way sort of like shines up and reveals to you a different part of yourself. And so Blonde was really fascinating to me because I got to learn more about myself, and you get to turn it into art and that the whole world gets to see. It's crazy. It's the best job in the world.